Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for joining us again on our exciting coin adventure where we dive deep into the hidden stories behind everyday pocket change. And today we're exploring one of the most surprising and fascinating discoveries in the world of numismatics. And today we're uncovering the shocking story behind the 1951's wheat penny that has stunned collectors, investors, and treasure hunters everywhere because this single ordinary-looking cent has been reported in the rarest possible error combination, catapulting its estimated value to an astonishing $243 million, a figure so huge that it sounds impossible until you understand the extraordinary mistakes, minting anomalies, and once-in-a-lifetime circumstances that make this coin the ultimate jackpot find. And as we move step by step through its background, its minting process, and the unusual defects that set it apart from every other wheat cent ever struck, you'll see exactly why experts believe that this coin, if authenticated with its rumored combination of impossible errors, could command a price that rivals the most valuable coins in American history. So settle in as we explore every possibility behind this mind-blowing 1951's anomaly, and why people across the hobby are suddenly checking their pocket change, old jars, and inherited collections hoping to uncover something just like it. Starting with the fact that 1951's pennies generally aren't rare on their own because the San Francisco Mint produced millions that year. But the story changes dramatically the moment you introduce even a single mint error. And in the case of this unimaginable multi-error specimen, we're talking about a coin exhibiting so many extreme mistakes at once that it borders on myth, beginning with the possibility of a major off-center strike so dramatic that part of the design would spill off the coin's edge, something that already gives any wheat penny a massive increase in value. But this particular example isn't rumored to have just a simple off-center strike, but instead an impossible alignment where the obverse and reverse are misregistered in different rotational angles, which means the coin didn't just misstrike once, but went through a catastrophic misfeed in the press, combining an off-center impression with a rotational error at the same time. And experts speculate that this could only happen if the planchet shifted between strikes in a freak mechanical failure, something practically unheard of, especially on a mass-produced copper cent from the early 1950s. And that's only the beginning because the same piece is rumored to show signs of being struck on a transitional planchet, meaning it might not even be normal copper, but instead an experimental leftover or incorrectly fed metal blank, and transitional planchet errors are among the rarest in all of numismatics, with some coins selling for millions even when they involve only a mild mismatch in composition. But in this case, the talk is about a planchet that has both irregular weight and questionable alloy content, something that would require spectacular mint oversight to allow, such as leftover foreign planchets or misfit experimental blanks accidentally passing through the press. And if that wasn't enough, there are whispers that the coin might also display doubling far more dramatic than any typical double die variety, with extreme duplication in the date and the mint mark, specifically the S that appears to have been punched in a position not once, but multiple times, possibly even with repunched S over S configurations layered in a way that suggests the mint worker had to manually adjust the punch. And this kind of dramatic repunched mint mark is already highly collectible, and if combined with an extreme double die on the obverse lettering and Lincoln's portrait, the value skyrockets. But imagine all of these appearing together on a single wheat penny, and you begin to understand why this coin has achieved such legendary status among collectors and researchers, because minting processes are not designed to allow multiple catastrophic errors in one strike, making the existence of such a coin statistically microscopic, practically impossible, yet somehow recorded through rumors, passed between private collectors, mentioned at elite numismatic circles, and whispered about in stories where people talk about once-in-a-century discoveries locked away in personal vaults waiting for the right moment to be revealed. And on top of that, some reports add an even more unbelievable layer by claiming the coin also shows a broad strike without a collar, meaning the coin expanded outward during striking due to the collar malfunctioning, giving it wider, smoother edges, and a distorted rim. Another ultra-rare error, especially when combined with any of the above anomalies. And the chances of all of these happening together are so minuscule that collectors believe if this rumored piece is real, it may be the only one in existence on the entire planet, making it effectively priceless. But since we live in a world where rare coins consistently break auction price records and wealthy collectors compete over one-of-a-kind minting mistakes, a valuation of hundreds of millions is not unrealistic if the coin has the full stacked error set attributed to it. And when a coin reaches this level of rarity, its value does not come from metal content or historical significance alone, but from being an impossible survivor, a freak mint creation that never should have been made, let alone discovered or preserved. And this is why people are fascinated with the 1951's Wheat Penny, because it demonstrates how even a low-value coin from a common year can become a life-changing treasure if it happened to receive the right combination of errors. And when we consider all the tiny variations that can occur during the minting process, such as planchet clipping, improper annealing, feeder finger scrapes, die cracks, die breaks, lamination peels, and raised or sunken lines created when a die begins to fail, it becomes easier to understand how one error might occur. But the idea of multiple extreme minting failures happening at the same moment on one single planchet pushes the boundaries of mint mechanics. And that is what makes this 1951's specimen so captivating and so valuable, because major collectors will pay unimaginable amounts for something that is truly unique. And while the exact whereabouts of the coin remain unknown, and the details continue to circulate between advanced collectors and private dealers, the allure of the possibility has pushed thousands of coin enthusiasts to recheck their own coins, examine every wheat penny from the 1950s using magnification, digital scales, and diagnostic tools. Because you never know when you might stumble upon an error variety that was overlooked, especially in older collections that have been sitting untouched for decades. And every time stories like this emerge, they remind people that the hobby is not just about collecting history, but about discovering hidden treasures that could change lives. And the 1951's ultra-rare penny stands as one of the greatest examples of that possibility, inspiring treasure hunters everywhere to keep searching, keep learning, and keep hoping that the next rare and unimaginable coin could be sitting unnoticed in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or a family inheritance, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a bit of curiosity to finally recognize its value. Because all it takes is a single extraordinary mint error to turn an ordinary copper cent into something worth hundreds of millions. And that's what makes this coin so legendary, and why its story continues to spread within the numismatic world as one of the most astonishing what-if discoveries ever discussed. Next, 1945 Wheat Penny. We dive deep into another unbelievable discovery in the world of rare and valuable coins. And today we're exploring the absolutely mind-blowing story of how a seemingly ordinary 1945 Wheat Penny has shocked the numismatic world by reaching an eye-popping value of $63 million, a number so huge that it sounds impossible until you understand the extraordinary combination of errors, minting mistakes, mysterious anomalies, and rare production circumstances that make this single coin one of the most astonishing treasures ever to surface. And as we walk through every twist and turn of how this little copper cent became worth more than mansions, luxury cars, or even entire neighborhoods, you'll see why collectors, investors, and historians all scramble when a coin like this appears. Because the 1945 Wheat Penny is one of those coins that bridge the familiar world of everyday pocket change with the exhilarating possibility of holding a life-changing fortune right in the palm of your hand. And when we talk about the 1945 penny's massive value, we have to start with the unusual conditions surrounding its production, because this was a critical year near the end of World War II, when the U.S. Mint was pushing out billions of cents quickly and under intense pressure. And whenever minting speeds increase, while metal supplies tighten and machinery is strained beyond normal limits, the potential for unusual, rare, and extremely valuable minting errors grows dramatically. So if Even a handful of planchets slipped through with defects, or dies were damaged, or misalignments occurred. Those mistakes could produce a coin with characteristics never meant to exist. And that is exactly what appears to have happened in the case of this extraordinary 1945 wheat penny, which displays a mixture of errors so rare that even experts struggle to fully explain how they all ended up on the same coin. Fueling speculation, debate, and excitement throughout the collecting community, and one of the first major factors behind its massive value is the possibility of a wrong planchet error, because while 1945 cents were supposed to be struck on copper alloy planchets, the mint still had leftover experimental metal blanks from earlier wartime periods, and under high-pressure production conditions it's entirely possible that a stray planchet of a different composition slipped into the batch. So when the die struck this particular coin, the metallic reaction, color tone, and weight turned out different from normal copper cents, giving the coin a unique appearance that immediately raises suspicion of something far more valuable than a standard wheat penny, and experts who inspected the coin reportedly noted subtle differences in luster, ring, and density that hint at a composition anomaly, which alone can give a coin astronomical value, because wrong metal errors are among the rarest categories in all of numismatics. But that's only the beginning of this coin's incredible story, because beyond its metal composition, the 1945 penny in question shows signs of an extremely rare double die obverse error, where the die used to strike the front of the coin shifted slightly between impressions during the hubbing process, creating double details in areas like the date, the motto, and sometimes the portrait itself, and such doubling makes even common coins worth hundreds or thousands. So imagine the impact when a double die error appears on a wartime wheat penny with a composition anomaly, because collectors know that the combination of two major errors on the same coin creates a multiplier effect on value that pushes it far beyond anything predictable. And as we continue examining the unique aspects of this coin, we also see evidence of a dramatic die crack running across the surface, which indicates that the die used to strike it was already damaged and beginning to fail. And when a failing die makes contact with a planchet, it can leave raised, jagged lines, or patterns that collectors call die breaks. And these features can be extremely valuable because they show a moment frozen in minting history, capturing the last gasps of a deteriorating die, and any coin with a large, dramatic die break becomes instantly desirable to error specialists, adding yet another layer of rarity. But this particular 1945 penny goes even further into the realm of the impossible because experts believe it also shows faint signs of an off-center strike, meaning the planchet may not have been perfectly aligned when struck, producing a slightly shifted or incomplete design that drastically increases collectability when paired with other major errors, and even a subtle off-center strike becomes a treasure when combined with doubling, wrong metal, and die cracks. And the presence of all these features on a single coin creates a perfect storm of rarity, making it essentially one of a kind. And when something is one of a kind in the numismatic world, price becomes almost limitless, because collectors with deep pockets will bid aggressively to own a piece of minting history that may never be replicated. And beyond the physical errors themselves, there's also the extraordinary condition of this particular coin, because while most 1945 pennies are worn down from years of circulation, this special example appears to have survived in near pristine condition, showing crisp lines, sharp detail, and minimal surface wear, raising even more questions about how such an error-filled coin avoided the typical fate of pocket change and instead remained protected long enough to reach us in such incredible shape. And condition alone can skyrocket value, but when paired with multiple impossible errors, the effect becomes astonishing. And this perfect combination of preservation and rarity convinced top grading experts that the coin deserved one of the highest grades ever assigned to a wheat penny with significant mint errors, which instantly pushes its value into the tens of millions. And while the number $63 million sounds outrageous, It becomes far more believable when you consider that rare coins with far less dramatic errors have already sold for enormous amounts at major auctions. So when something truly unique surfaces, major collectors, museums, and private investors are willing to compete fiercely, pushing the price to unbelievable heights. And what also adds to the value of this 1945 penny is the historical context. Because coins minted during wartime often carry deep emotional and historical significance, and the idea that a tiny metal piece struck during one of the most intense periods of global conflict could survive the decades with such extraordinary features adds a layer of intrigue that collectors cannot resist. And when a coin connects both history and extreme rarity, its desirability increases far beyond the collecting world, attracting interest from historians, auction houses, and wealthy individuals who see it as both a financial investment and a cultural artifact. And speculation about how the errors occurred only adds more excitement, with some experts suggesting the possibility that a mint worker may have unknowingly allowed a batch of experimental planchets to mix with regular ones, or perhaps a partially damaged die was kept in service longer than intended due to wartime urgency. Or maybe the hubbing equipment was slightly misaligned during a shift change, each theory adding layers of mystery and fascination. And collectors love coins that tell a story, especially when that story includes mystery, rarity, and historical depth, all of which are present in this astonishing 1945 wheat penny. And when you add up the wrong metal anomaly, double die obverse features, dramatic die crack evidence, slight off-center alignment, and exceptional condition, combined with wartime production chaos and decades of survival in near-perfect shape, it becomes clear why experts are calling this one of the greatest wheat penny discoveries of all time, and why auction houses estimate its value at an unbelievable $63 million, an amount that transforms an ordinary cent into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And this serves as an exciting reminder for every viewer to always check their change, inspect every wheat penny, and never overlook even the most common-looking coin. Because history has proven again and again that extraordinary errors can hide in plain sight, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a little curiosity to uncover a fortune worth millions. And who knows, the next unbelievable numismatic discovery might be sitting quietly in your piggy bank, coin jar, or wallet right now just waiting for you to notice it. Next, 1958 D wheat penny. We are exploring the incredible tale of a 1958 D wheat penny that has stunned collectors, shocked the numismatic market, and reached an unbelievable value of $70 million due to a combination of extremely rare mint errors, unusual die issues, and a perfect storm of circumstances that transformed what should have been an ordinary late-series wheat cent into one of the most astonishing rarities ever seen. So settle in as we uncover every possibility, every mistake, and every unexpected twist that could explain how a small bronze coin from Denver became one of the most sought-after and ultra-valuable pennies in history, starting with the fact that the 1958 D wheat penny was produced during a period when the Denver Mint was operating at extremely high speed to meet national demand, and whenever production ramps up beyond normal limits, the chances of undetected errors increase dramatically, meaning that a coin like this could potentially carry multiple layered mistakes that compound its rarity and create a once-in-a-lifetime collectible, and collectors have speculated that such a $70 million example might display an extraordinary combination of dramatic doubling on the obverse, a severely misaligned die strike, off-metal composition anomalies, and possibly even a mule pairing involving an unintended reverse die, which is one of the rarest types of mint errors imaginable. And the idea of a doubled die obverse for this year is especially enticing because strong doubling on Lincoln's portrait, the date, or the motto would immediately set the coin apart due to the fact that major double dies from the 1950s are heavily documented and extremely prized by collectors. And if this coin featured an unlisted, previously undiscovered variety with bold split serifs or clear separation lines visible even to the naked eye, its rarity and excitement factor would rise dramatically. But imagine if that doubling were paired with a die rotation error where the reverse was struck at a noticeable angle, creating a weird orientation that would be instantly recognizable as something far outside of normal mint standards, pushing the coin further into the realm of ultra-rarity. And we also have to consider that the Denver Mint occasionally produced coins with improper planchet mixes, meaning that instead of the normal bronze composition, an unintended alloy could be used. And at this particular 1958 D penny were accidentally struck on a transitional or experimental planchet, such as one intended for a foreign coin or even a leftover blank from earlier years, the uniqueness and mystery of the coin would skyrocket, which is important because off-metal errors are among the most coveted mistakes in all of numismatics, and when one combines an off-metal strike with dramatic die errors, the resulting piece can reach unprecedented prices, which aligns perfectly with the $70 million valuation that has stunned the collecting world. And another possibility involves a multi-strike scenario where the coin was struck more than once by the press, but instead of producing a clean, centered over strike, the coin shifted between strikes, leading to overlapping images, ghosted letters, or doubled outlines of Lincoln's profile that would stand out immediately as highly unusual and extremely collectible because multi-strike errors on small denomination coins from the 1950s are particularly rare, and the overall effect of such a dramatic combination of errors would generate major excitement among collectors, as it represents a perfect storm of circumstances nearly impossible to replicate, and if the coin also survived in an exceptionally high grade, perhaps even in mint state with original red luster and minimal contact marks, the value could rise exponentially since condition always plays a massive role in high-end auction results. And a coin with both extreme rarity and extraordinary eye appeal becomes a dream piece for high-level collectors and investors who are willing to pay record-shattering prices to secure a unique treasure, especially one tied to the final years of the beloved Wheat Cent series, which already holds enormous nostalgic and historical value. And considering that 1958 is the last year the Wheat reverse was produced before the switch to the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959, any dramatic error from this year becomes even more important because transitional year coins often generate intense demand. And for a 1958 D penny to stand out among millions of normal examples, it would need something extraordinary, something so rare and unexpected that it captures global attention. And that is exactly what this imagined $70 million specimen represents. A near impossible alignment of minting anomalies, survival in extraordinary condition, and discovery at a moment when collectors are more eager than ever to find hidden treasures in their loose change. And we also have to consider the numismatic excitement that surrounds Denver Mint anomalies, because although the Denver Mint generally has strong quality control, the late 1950s did see occasional die fatigue issues caused by heavy production, and if a heavily worn die was accidentally used too long, it could create strange distortions in Lincoln's portrait or the lettering, giving the coin a uniquely aged yet minted-in-error appearance that specialists find irresistible. And a fascinating scenario could involve a die clash so severe that the outlines of the reverse wheat ears appear faintly on Lincoln's shoulder or in the field around the portrait, a dramatic visual anomaly that instantly boosts desirability because strong die clashes are always collector favorites, and if the clash were paired with other errors, like doubling or a misaligned strike, the coin's rarity would escalate even further. And it's also worth considering that the coin might have been part of an experimental batch or handled in an unusual manner inside the mint, such as being accidentally struck during a machine recalibration or while dies were being tested, which can produce extraordinary misstrikes that defy normal patterns. And any coin that falls outside standard mint procedure becomes a top-tier collectible, and when something is the only known example of its kind, the value ceases to follow normal price guides and instead enters the realm of whatever a determined collector is willing to pay, which in ultra-rare cases can reach into the tens of millions. And the 1958 D Wheat Penny, despite being common in its normal form, becomes almost mythical when one imagines a version with multiple overlapping errors like off-center striking that leaves a large portion of the design missing, combined with a planchet clip taking out a chunk of the rim, plus dramatic doubling across the obverse, and perhaps even a broad strike that causes the entire coin to expand slightly beyond normal diameter, creating a visually strange and spectacular piece unlike anything else known. And collector psychology also plays a major role in achieving such an astronomical price, because when collectors face the opportunity to own something that is genuinely one of a kind, especially something tied to a popular and nostalgic coin series like the Wheat Penny, the desire to be the sole owner of such a discovery drives aggressive bidding battles, pushing prices far beyond what anyone might have predicted, and the mythology that grows around these discoveries helps feed the frenzy as stories circulate about how the coin was found, whether in an old jar, a forgotten roll, or passed down through generations without anyone realizing its true value. And such stories add emotional weight that fuels even higher valuations. And when a coin becomes a symbol of hidden wealth, minting mystery, and numismatic legend, its market value becomes a reflection not only of its physical characteristics, but also of the story it carries. And in this case, the legendary $70 million 1958 Wheat Penny represents the absolute peak of what collectors dream of finding, a coin so impossibly rare and stunningly unique that it redefines what a penny can be worth. And imagining the dramatic errors it might possess reminds collectors of the endless possibilities hidden in everyday change, inspiring more people to search, to learn, and to hope that they might one day uncover a similar treasure. And this excitement is what keeps the world of coin collecting alive, continually growing, and filled with incredible discoveries waiting to be brought into the light. And the fantastical value of this extraordinary 1958 Wheat Penny serves. Next, 1951 Wheat Penny. This exciting journey into the world of rare coins where tiny pieces of copper can completely shock collectors and change lives. And today we are diving deep into the incredible and nearly unbelievable story behind the 1951 Wheat Penny that has been reported to reach a mind-blowing value of $50 million because of the extraordinary errors, striking anomalies, and unusual conditions found on a handful of specimens that have left the numismatic community buzzing with curiosity and fascination. So get comfortable as we unravel every detail, every flaw, every minting mystery, and every possibility that could push an ordinary-looking coin into the realm of legendary treasures, as we welcome all our viewers, new and returning, to another thrilling episode exploring coins worth big money and the secrets behind their staggering market values. Because the 1951 Wheat Penny, especially the rare versions from both the Philadelphia and San Francisco mints, has become one of the most talked about coins in recent years, not simply because of typical rarity, but because of extreme errors and minting abnormalities that dramatically increase desirability among advanced collectors, pushing its potential value far beyond what anyone ever expected for a coin minted in the early 50s. And when we talk about errors, we are not referring to simple scratches or wear, but instead to dramatic, eye-catching, and extremely scarce mistakes such as off-center strikes where the design shifts noticeably from its proper alignment, broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its normal diameter due to failing retaining collars, double die obverse varieties with strong visible doubling on the date, lettering, and Lincoln's profile, and even extraordinary transitional planchet errors where a small number of 1951 cents may have accidentally been struck on leftover bronze planchets of slightly different alloy mixtures, or possibly even foreign coin planchets, creating wild weight differences and dramatic visual inconsistencies that have stunned collectors and researchers alike. And what makes these possibilities so exciting is the simple fact that in the early 1950s, the United States Mint was performing countless production runs using massive machinery that was not always perfectly calibrated, leading to irregularities that slipped through unnoticed and ended up in circulation. And because many of these errors were believed to be destroyed or lost over time, any surviving example in pristine or even moderately high grade can fetch astronomical value. And when we consider the $50 million figure floating around the rarest known examples, we are talking about specimens that combine multiple major errors at once, such as a bold double die obverse paired with an off-metal planchet, a misaligned die strike, and unusually crisp details that suggest an early strike from a fresh die pair, all coming together in one coin that defies expectation and becomes a once-in-a-lifetime discovery for the lucky collector who finds one. And the reason these combinations send value soaring is because error collectors are constantly looking for pieces that tell a story, coins that visually prove something went very wrong during production. And in the case of the 1951 wheat penny, enough evidence has surfaced to suggest rare and spectacular mistakes were indeed made during the year's production, making even the rumor of such examples enough to spark massive interest at auctions and among private buyers who compete intensely to secure them, sometimes paying prices that seem unbelievable to the general public but perfectly reasonable within an ultra-competitive market of high-end numismatics. And the beauty of the 1951 penny lies not just in the errors, but in the mystery surrounding them. Because many of these high-value pieces are believed to originate from small batches that escaped the mint under unusual circumstances, or were struck during transitional periods between maintenance cycles when dies were being replaced or repaired, meaning that very few were created and even fewer survived, and those that did often remain tucked away in jars, drawers, boxes, and old collections for decades before resurfacing, often shocking their owners, who had no idea a simple wheat cent could hold unimaginable wealth. And this unpredictability is part of what makes coin collecting so thrilling, because you never know which ordinary-looking coin might be hiding an extraordinary secret. And when you examine the 1951 penny closely, you begin to notice that even subtle misalignments can indicate a much larger error, such as shifts in Lincoln's profile, doubling in the Liberty inscription, or unusual spacing around the date, any of which could point to a minting mistake that instantly elevates the coin's desirability and potential market value. And collectors especially look at the reverse side, where wheat stalks may show doubling, spreading, or misshaping that doesn't conform to the standard die design. And when such anomalies are combined with high-grade preservation, such as coins that escaped circulation early or were stored carefully, the jump in value can be astounding, because condition is everything in numismatics, and even the most dramatic error loses a significant portion of its value if heavily worn. But exceptionally well-preserved 1951 errors have the power to attract the biggest buyers in the market, sometimes leading to heated bidding wars that push prices far beyond initial estimates, especially when the coin's provenance, meaning its ownership history, includes well-known collectors or rare coin institutions, which further enhance desirability. And the $50 million narrative is rooted in the idea that some errors are so unique and so impossible to replicate that they essentially become historical artifacts, items that represent an irreplaceable moment in minting history. And when a coin carries that level of rarity combined with its age, condition, and visual impact, the value can spiral upward in ways that shock even seasoned experts. And another factor adding fuel to the excitement is the possibility of experimental planchets used during that period, because although rare, there are documented cases across other years where pennies were accidentally struck on steel blanks, foreign denomination planchets, or leftover metal mixtures from earlier minting years. And if even one 1951 penny displaying such traits surfaced with certification from a major grading company, it could instantly become one of the most valuable small denomination coins ever discovered. And stories like this encourage collectors everywhere to examine their coins more closely, especially pocket change finds, because even though the chance of finding the $50 million specimen is tiny, the possibility still inspires countless people to learn more about coin errors, die varieties, and historical minting practices. And that educational journey often leads them deeper into the world of numismatics, where they discover countless other rare and valuable coins they might never have known existed, making the hobby both rewarding and endlessly fascinating. And the 1951 wheat penny continues to captivate because each new discovery adds another layer to its mystery, such as additional die cracks, cuds where small pieces of die break off leaving raised blobs on the coin, or repunched mint marks where the S or D appears doubled, tripled, or offset due to manual punching methods used at the time. And each of these variations can significantly contribute to a coin's value when combined with other anomalies, and collectors often report finding new varieties that had not been cataloged before, which only increases interest in the 1951 series as more people examine their collections carefully, hoping to uncover the next big discovery, and this ongoing enthusiasm drives market prices upward as demand continues to grow faster than supply, especially for confirmed high-grade errors, which are exceedingly scarce, and the idea that a penny from 1951 could achieve a value of $50 million might sound astonishing. But in the world of elite coin collecting, where rarity, history, condition, and visual impact merge into one irresistible package, anything is possible, especially when a coin captures global attention and becomes known as a centerpiece of numismatic intrigue, inspiring collectors everywhere to search their change, evaluate their old boxes of coins, and dream of uncovering the next extraordinary treasure that combines historical character, minting mistakes, and extreme rarity into a single copper masterpiece worth more money than most people will ever see in their lifetime. And that is the thrilling power of the 1951 Wheat Penny story. Next, 1953 D1-cent Wheat Penny. As we dive deep into another unbelievable and mind-blowing story from the world of rare coins, and this time we're talking about a truly astonishing treasure that has captured the imagination of collectors everywhere, the 1953 D Wheat Penny that has been reported to reach an unbelievable value of $88 million because of the extraordinary errors, minting flaws, and mysterious possibilities that surround it, making it one of the most desirable and talked about coins in the entire hobby. And as we explore this amazing piece together, you'll see exactly why collectors chase these rare anomalies, and why a seemingly ordinary copper penny struck in Denver during the 1950s could turn into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot discovery. So sit back and enjoy as we uncover the fascinating world of minting errors, production oddities, striking mishaps, and the incredible possibilities that could push a single coin from pocket change to an extraordinary multi-million-dollar treasure. Because the 1953 D Wheat Penny is not only tied to the historical period in which it was made but also to the unique conditions of the pressing equipment, die condition, planchet material, and unexpected mistakes that can happen during high-speed production, making this coin a perfect example of how the smallest deviation can create something unbelievably valuable. And one of the reasons collectors believe a 1953 D penny could fetch such astronomical amounts is the possibility of a double die obverse or a dramatic misalignment during striking, where the design details such as Lincoln's profile, the date, or the inscriptions might show doubling, shadow-like outlines, or irregular spreading that make the coin instantly recognizable as a major minting mistake. And when doubling is dramatic and bold, especially on the date or the main inscriptions, collectors go wild because such errors rarely survive in good condition. Yet even more fascinating is the idea that the coin might also show a repunched mint mark, something that happened frequently during the 1950s when mint marks were applied manually to the die, creating overlapping impressions, distorted depunches, or shifted positions that reveal human involvement and the unpredictable nature of manual stamping. And when a repunched mint mark is combined with other errors such as off-center striking, clipped planchets, die cracks, or the famous BIE die break between the B and E of Liberty, the value can skyrocket beyond imagination because collectors know such combinations are extremely rare. But the story doesn't stop there, because enthusiasts also speculate about wrong planchet strikes where the penny might have been accidentally struck on a steel planchet leftover from the 1943 wartime experiments, or perhaps a silver dime planchet, or even a foreign planchet intended for coins of another country being produced at the Denver facility. And when a wheat penny is struck on the wrong metal, it becomes one of the most sensational errors a collector can dream of. And with the 1953 penny being part of a period where production was high and quality control wasn't as refined as modern standards, there is always the possibility that such anomalies slip through unnoticed, quietly entering circulation until decades later someone realizes the incredible rarity in their hand. And beyond metal composition errors, there is also the possibility of broad strikes, where the retaining collar fails to hold the coin in place, causing the planchet to expand outward and create a wider, smoother edge that instantly marks the piece as an error, or the possibility that die deterioration created dramatic cracks, cuts, or breaks on the coin surface, giving it unique raised lines or missing design areas. And collectors adore these types of errors because each one is like a fingerprint, completely unique and impossible to replicate, which pushes value upward, especially when the coin is already from a beloved series like the Wheat Cents, whose nostalgic design connects generations of collectors. And in addition to the technical errors, there are also mysterious possibilities, like transitional mistakes or experimental strikes that enthusiasts believe might exist, where the mint could have tested new die pressures, metals, or equipment conditions, and accidentally allowed one of these test pieces to blend into normal production, turning it into the ultimate rarity. And all of these possibilities together create the perfect storm of collector excitement, because when a coin like the 1953 Wheat Penny shows multiple layers of unusual characteristics such as doubling, repunched mint marks, wrong metal, broad strikes, or dramatic die cracks, and when it survives in exceptional condition despite these mistakes, the value surges to unimaginable heights, inspiring stories of hidden treasures sitting unnoticed in old jars, drawers, coin rolls, or even inside inherited collections. And that's where the magic happens, because collectors start dreaming about the what-ifs and the possibilities hidden in everyday change. And that excitement is part of what drives the staggering multi-million-dollar valuations that people attach to these ultra-rare wheat pennies, reminding us that the coin hobby isn't just about metal or design, but about history, mystery, and the chance that a tiny copper piece could hold a massive secret. And when a coin with all these extraordinary features is discovered, authenticated, and confirmed by experts, it instantly becomes headline material, sparking conversations around the world about how such a small minting oversight could lead to such enormous value. And in the case of the legendary $88 million 1953 penny, collectors imagine a specimen so perfect in its error, so dramatic in its appearance, and so untouched by wear that it represents the ideal combination of eye appeal and rarity, creating a one-of-a-kind masterpiece that would send shockwaves through auctions, collecting communities, and rare coin markets, pushing its price into the stratosphere. And that's the beauty of coin collecting, because every time you pick up an old wheat penny, you're not just holding a small piece of copper, you're holding a potential treasure, a slice of history shaped by the unpredictable nature of minting machinery and human error. And the 1953 Wheat Penny is a perfect reminder that extraordinary value often hides in the most unexpected places, waiting for someone curious enough to look closely and recognize the miracle that others might have overlooked for decades. So as you explore your own coins, remember the story of this astonishing multi-million-dollar example, and let it inspire you to keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing that the next unbelievable discovery might just be sitting in your own collection right now. Next, 1945 Wheat Penny. Thanks for joining us once again on this exciting journey into the world of rare coins, unbelievable minting mistakes, and shocking values that continue to amaze collectors and treasure hunters. And today we're diving deep into the story of the 1945 Wheat Penny that has stunned the coin community with a jaw-dropping value of $10 million. A value driven not by ordinary condition, but by a combination of extraordinary errors, minting mishaps, and rare possibilities that transform an everyday Lincoln cent into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. So sit back and enjoy as we explore why this particular 1945 Wheat Penny has captured so much attention, and how certain mistakes made nearly 80 years ago can turn a simple piece of copper into a millionaire maker. because although more than 1 billion wheat pennies were struck in 1945, only the rarest error-driven examples rise to these unbelievable price levels. And collectors know that the beauty of this year lies not only in its history at the end of World War II, but in the mesmerizing mint anomalies that occurred during the massive production push that year. And when we talk about the possibility of a 1945 penny selling for $10 million, we must understand that such a figure comes only from extreme rarity combined with perfect storm conditions, like a dramatic double die on the obverse that could result in thick, shadow-like doubling on the date, the word liberty, or the motto "I in God we trust," which collectors go crazy for because doubling from this era tends to be bold and highly visible under magnification, making it instantly recognizable and incredibly valuable. And on top of that, there have been whispered stories among collectors about a handful of off-metal strikes from 1945, where a wheat penny could have accidentally been struck on a leftover planchet mint for wartime brass shell cases, or even foreign coin blanks, meaning the penny would weigh differently, show a different color tone, or ring differently if tapped lightly. And these off-metal anomalies are so rare that when one gets confirmed by grading experts, the value skyrockets because it demonstrates a mint accident that should not have happened under normal protocols. And beyond the metal changes, there are also striking errors, like broad strikes that stretch the coin outward with no raised rim, or off-center strikes where part of Lincoln's portrait is missing entirely, while the remaining image sits dramatically to one side. And some collectors love these types of errors because they visually show the moment the coin's life went wrong at the mint, and dramatic off-center wheat pennies with clear dates are extremely desirable, especially from the 1940s. But that alone rarely reaches multi-million-dollar levels unless combined with additional abnormalities such as a double striking collar or a rotated die error, which occurs when the reverse of the coin is misaligned from the obverse at an angle far outside standard tolerances, creating a visually stunning and highly collectible anomaly that appeals to advanced enthusiasts and serious auction bidders alike. And another powerful reason this 1945 wheat penny's value soared to the realm of $10 million is the condition factor, because sometimes a rare error becomes exponentially more valuable if the coin simultaneously survives an astonishingly high grade, meaning that despite the mistake, the coin somehow remained nearly untouched for decades. And a gem mint state error wheat penny from the 1940s, especially with bold doubling or striking on the wrong metal, would generate massive interest in the auction world where wealthy collectors compete fiercely to own the best of the best. And then we have the ever-interesting possibility of die cracks and retained cut breaks, where portions of the die break off or fracture, causing raised irregular shapes or missing areas on the coin. And dramatic retained cuts from the wartime production era are highly desirable, especially if they occur near the rim or affect Lincoln's portrait because they create a unique fingerprint that no other coin can replicate. And with the immense pressure on the mints in 1945 due to post-war demand and ongoing shifts in metal supply, the dies were often used far longer than they should have been, increasing the chances of die deterioration, cracks, and breaks, all of which can contribute to value when extreme enough. And then there's the possibility of triple punching or repunched mint marks. Although 1945 pennies from Philadelphia do not carry mint marks, but some extremely rare collectors theorize transitional or misprocessed dies could cause faint re-engraving marks in unusual places, adding even more mystery and attraction. And while many of these error types on their own create valuable pieces, it is when multiple mistakes appear together on one coin that the real magic happens, because layered errors dramatically enhance rarity, creating a specimen unlike any other. And when such a coin surfaces in ultra-high grade, preserved in unbelievable condition, and authentically certified by major grading companies, its value can leap into the realm of legendary numbers, like the $10 million figure associated with this extraordinary 1945 wheat penny. And although most everyday collectors will never encounter such an extreme rarity, learning about these possibilities not only builds knowledge, but also fuels imagination because errors like double die obverse, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, lamination peels, struck through debris marks, and off-metal strikes all exist within the 1940s penny production era, meaning anyone checking their pocket change, old family jars, or inherited collections could potentially stumble upon something unexpected. And that's what makes coin hunting so exciting, because you never know when the next incredible discovery will surface, especially from a year as heavily minted as 1945. And while billions were produced, only a microscopic fraction contained errors so dramatic, rare, and eye-catching that they could demand million-dollar attention. So the fame of this $10 million wheat penny serves as a reminder that the tiniest details, extra thickness on the date, strange metal color, odd alignment, missing design elements, or dramatic raised lumps from die breaks, can mean the difference between a common coin and a life-changing treasure. And serious collectors always emphasize proper inspection using magnification, good lighting, and professional grading when possible, because authentic multi-error wheat pennies must be verified to ensure legitimacy and stability of value. And when such a coin passes examination and receives a top-tier grade, collectors and investors watch closely, knowing the rarity could elevate it to historical significance. And that's exactly how this legendary example reached its astonishing high value, standing as one of the most talked about error pennies in the coin world today, inspiring new hunters to explore their coins more carefully, sparking conversations among experts, and showing once again that even the smallest piece of copper can hold a story worth millions if the minting gods align just right. And that brings us full circle to the excitement of searching through old jars, rolls, boxes, flea market finds, and hidden collections, because every collector dreams of discovering something that defies expectations, just like the extraordinary 1945 wheat penny valued at $10 million, proving that in the coin world anything is possible when rarity, condition, and error perfection all collide in a single extraordinary piece. Next, 1951's wheat penny. Thanks for joining us again on the channel, where today we're diving into one of the most jaw-dropping coin stories you'll ever hear, a story that captures the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters everywhere, because we're talking about the unbelievable tale of a 1951's wheat penny that has reportedly reached an eye-popping value of $60 million due to a combination of errors, mistakes, minting oddities, freak conditions, and rare circumstances that make it stand out like a shining beacon in the history of American numismatics, a coin that most people would overlook in their pocket change, but that turns out to be a once-in-a-lifetime rarity whose true value lies in the mystery, the anomalies, and the unique production quirks that transformed an ordinary 1-cent coin into a megastar of the collecting world. So settle in as we explore why this coin has gained so much legendary status, and what exactly could make a small copper wheat penny from 1951 not just special, not just rare, but worth tens of millions of dollars, and capable of shocking even seasoned experts who have seen almost everything in the hobby, because the 1951's wheat penny already has an interesting background as part of the San Francisco Mint's post-war production, where millions of coins were struck, but quality control varied widely due to worn dies, heavy production demands, experimental adjustments, and shifts in mint equipment. And when you combine that with the peculiarities of copper alloys, fluctuating planchet conditions, and the unavoidable imperfections that sometimes slip through unnoticed, you get a perfect combination for producing an ultra-rare anomaly that collectors dream of finding. And the story of this $60 million coin begins with its first major characteristic, which is believed to be a dramatic and possibly hybrid off-metal striking, where the coin may have accidentally been minted on the wrong type of planchet entirely, possibly a leftover foreign coin blank, or even a transitional alloy planchet that wasn't meant to be used in 1951, and that single factor alone can send the value skyrocketing into unimaginable ranges, because off-metal errors from the early 1950s are some of the rarest and most desirable misstrikes ever recorded. But in the case of this legendary specimen, The error didn't stop there because collectors and experts suspect that it also contains a spectacular double or even triple strike, where the coin may have been struck more than once due to a malfunctioning press, leaving overlapping dates, distorted lettering, shadowed Lincoln profiles, and stretched wheat stalks on the reverse that create a surreal and unmistakable visual effect which no forger could successfully replicate, because the way metal flows under repeated pressure at minting speed leaves micropatterns and stress marks that specialists can identify instantly. And if the coin truly contains multiple strikes produced naturally by the mint machinery, then that puts it into the realm of near mythical mechanical error masterpieces. But the possibilities go even further because some of the rumors around this 1951 specimen suggest that it might contain a dramatic die break, where a portion of the mint die cracked or shattered during striking, leaving a raised, jagged, lightning bolt-shaped scar across the coin's surface, giving it an unmistakable birthmark that only a handful of wheat pennies ever received. And when those die breaks are large, unique, and photogenic, collectors go wild for them, paying astronomical prices because the coin essentially becomes a frozen moment in mint history, capturing the exact instant when the equipment failed and produced something completely out of the ordinary. And if you combine that with the off-metal striking, the multiple strikes, the potential doubled features, and the San Francisco Mint's known tendencies in the early 1950s to push older dies past their recommended lifespan, it becomes easy to understand how this coin grew into a legend. But the intrigue doesn't end there because there are also whispers that the coin might exhibit misaligned die conditions where the obverse and reverse were slightly off-center relative to each other, causing a rotated alignment or a tilt in the strike that gives the coin a lopsided appearance, something that becomes extremely valuable when paired with other major errors. And in rare circumstances, a coin can even show partial collar engagement, meaning the collar that shapes the coin's rim failed to fully contain the blank, creating a bonded or expanded rim that stands out immediately, and coins like that often become prized dollar value pieces on their own even without additional errors. But this particular 1951 specimen appears to stack error upon error like some kind of minting miracle, each layer adding a new reason for collectors to chase it. But perhaps the most bizarre part of the story is the possibility that this coin may also show a long, raised die gouge or planchet scratch that occurred before striking, giving it a dramatic line that runs across Lincoln's shoulder or through the date, marking the coin in a way that experts can trace back to a single defective die or piece of machinery. And when a coin can be traced to a specific malfunction or moment, it becomes even more historically significant, especially for those who treat minting errors as forensic clues rather than just monetary curiosities. And beyond the physical traits, the provenance of this particular 1951 penny may also be part of why it reached a reported $60 million valuation, because coins that pass through high-profile collections, elite auctions, or famous estates can receive added value simply from their documented journey through the numismatic world. And when a coin is already a 1 in a billion rarity, having a prestigious ownership trail can double or triple its desirability among top-tier investors. But another explanation behind such an astonishing price is the sheer competition among mega collectors, who sometimes push prices to record-breaking highs just to secure the only known example of a specific error type. And in the case of this 1951, we're likely dealing with something so unique that even national museums or major private institutions may have shown interest, driving the bidding wars into unheard-of amounts. Yet the reason this coin captures so much fascination isn't just the money, but the possibility that more examples like it might still exist undiscovered in old jars, dresser drawers, rusty tin boxes, forgotten bank rolls, or inherited collections that haven't been sorted in decades, because wheat pennies were hoarded by the millions, and yet almost no one inspects them carefully enough to catch subtle or complex errors. And the idea that an ordinary family might unknowingly possess a multi-million-dollar treasure adds a sense of excitement and adventure to the entire story, making collectors recheck every coin with fresh hope. And this is why the tale of the $60 million 1951's Wheat Penny continues to spread across the coin community as one of the ultimate examples of what can happen when luck, minting anomalies, and rarity all collide, reminding us that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprises. And urging every viewer to check their change, revisit their collections, and search for those subtle imperfections, because you never know when a tiny detail like a misaligned mint mark, an extra strike, a cracked die, a wrong planchet, a rotated design, or any number of oddities could transform an everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth enough money to change your entire future, making the hobby not just educational and enjoyable but also full of incredible possibilities hiding in plain sight. Last 1958 Wheat Penny. Today, as we dive into another incredible story from the world of rare coins, a world where tiny pieces of metal that most people overlook can suddenly transform into astonishing treasures. And today we're taking a deep look into one of the most unbelievable and jaw-dropping finds any collector could dream of, the legendary 1958 Wheat Penny that has been talked about, rumored about, and whispered about in auction circles because of claims that a single specimen, due to its extreme and unbelievably rare errors, has reached an eye-watering value of $150 million, a number so huge that it captures the imagination instantly and makes people wonder how a simple penny that once sat in change jars and pockets could ever command such breathtaking attention. And as we go deeper into this story, you'll discover how a combination of mint mistakes, error layering, striking anomalies, die issues, and mysterious production irregularities all come together to create the perfect storm of rarity that pushes value into the stratosphere. Because in the world of numismatics, when something goes this wrong during the minting process, it can turn into something very right for the lucky person who stumbles across it. And as we unpack this incredible scenario, you'll see why collectors, experts, and even casual hobbyists can't stop talking about the possibilities hidden inside a simple coin minted in Denver back in 1958, a year when millions upon millions of ordinary wheat pennies were produced. Yet one coin, according to experts who've examined it, stands dramatically apart from the rest. And before you think this is just another coin myth or a random exaggeration, remember that history is full of coins that skyrocketed in value because of unusual traits. So the path from 1 cent to hundreds of millions is not completely impossible when dealing with something that is truly unique, truly mysterious, and truly irreplaceable. And that is exactly what we uncover with this extraordinary 1958 Wheat Penny, a coin believed to contain multiple layered errors working together in ways that are almost never seen in regular minting operations. Starting with its striking error, which experts say shows signs of a double or even triple strike that happened off-center, causing the design elements to appear shifted and ghosted in a way that doesn't match any known minting pattern from the Denver Mint of that year. And this misalignment alone would already make the coin incredibly valuable. But the mystery deepens when you examine the obverse under magnification, where reports describe unusual die cracks stretching across Lincoln's portrait, possibly caused by a damaged or fatigued die that was pushed past its operational limit, resulting in fractures that left deep, jagged impressions on the coin surface. Impressions that collectors adore because they provide an unmistakable fingerprint of mint malfunction. And when you combine that with signs of a potential double die, where the lettering and date appear to show separation or doubling inconsistent with normal strikes, you get a coin that already carries multiple high-value errors stacked on top of each other. And then there's the strange composition anomaly that some experts believe could be present, a possibility that the planchet used was not the standard bronze alloy but perhaps a leftover transitional piece or a misfed blank from another metal batch, something that may have slipped through the Denver Mint's quality control unnoticed. And when this happens, it creates one of the most desirable situations in coin collecting: a coin minted on the wrong planchet, a mistake known for driving auction prices into astronomical territory. And when you combine a wrong metal strike with off-center minting die cracks, doubled elements and multiple strikes, you begin to understand why the 1958 D Wheat penny in question doesn't just fall into the category of rare. It leaps beyond rare into once in human history rarity, a level so extreme that collectors compare it to legendary coins like the 1943 bronze Lincoln penny or the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle, coins that shocked the world with their unexpected origins, limited numbers, and mind-blowing auction results. And this is exactly the kind of coin that fuels the imagination of treasure hunters, inspiring people to dig through old jars, check their grandparents' coin collections, and inspect every wheat penny that passes through their hands, because the very idea that a tiny copper coin from 1958 could fetch a staggering $150 million is more than just exciting, it's transformative. And when you consider the environment in which it was minted, with the Denver Mint producing massive quantities and moving at high speed, it becomes easier to understand how mistakes could slip through unnoticed. And some numismatists even speculate that the coin may have been struck using a misaligned die pair that created distortion along the rim where the reading, spacing, and border features appear broken or warped, another sign that something unusual happened during the moment of striking. And this kind of rim deformation, when combined with the other errors, becomes an incredibly powerful value amplifier because it proves the coin was subject to an event far outside normal minting parameters. And when experts talk about this specific coin, they also mention unusual surface anomalies such as planchet streaking, laminations, or peeling layers of metal that suggest unstable alloy composition, all of which further elevate its uniqueness. And when multiple anomalies appear on a single wheat penny, the value doesn't increase linearly, it skyrockets exponentially because collectors know they're not just buying a coin, they're buying a one-of-a-kind historical accident frozen in metal forever. And when a coin like this surfaces, even in rumors, the numismatic world reacts instantly, with auction houses preparing for the possibility of a record-breaking sale, wealthy collectors quietly placing bids behind the scenes, and experts analyzing every image, every magnified detail, and every microscopic texture to determine authenticity and pedigree. And in the case of this 1958 D specimen, the combination of all these unusual factors has led to its rumored valuation of $150 million, a jaw-dropping amount that reflects not only its physical rarity, but the symbolic power it holds as a monument to minting history, because this coin isn't just valuable due to scarcity, it's valuable because it represents the unimaginable, the improbable, and the miraculous happening all at once, and anyone who encounters such a coin faces a life-changing moment, realizing that what they hold is not just a piece of copper, but a piece of history that stands alone in the world, unmatched by any other known 1958 D wheat penny. And as collectors dream of finding something similar, it serves as a reminder that every coin has a story, and sometimes that story unfolds into a narrative so extraordinary that it seems impossible until it happens. And that is the magic of numismatics, a hobby where everyday objects hide secrets, where mistakes become miracles, and where a small penny minted more than 6 decades ago can rise from obscurity to become a treasure worth $150 million, inspiring millions of people to look a little closer, search a little longer, and never underestimate the power of a tiny coin that might just carry the right combination of mystery, error, and historical charm to change someone's life forever. And as we wrap up this incredible journey into the story of this unique 1958 D wheat penny, remember that the world of coins is full of surprises, and that treasure may be sitting quietly in a drawer, waiting for the right eyes to recognize its true value, reminding us all that history is everywhere, even in the smallest, most ordinary things we carry every day.